My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has played a formative role in my childhood, as it probably did for you if you are watching this video right now. And if you are also like me, your feed is on social medias have been flooded all over again with the Technicolored mares, either with incredibly sick, pun intended, infection AUs exploding on TikTok, or dozens of unique redesigns of the main cast. I figured it was about time I threw my own hat into the ring, considering I'm a bit of a veteran in the field of consuming horse media myself. But enough with the yapping, let's get into the redesigning. First up with Miss Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie. Oh, Miss Pinkie Pie, what can I say about her that hasn't been said already? Honestly, not much. While making these redesigns, something I realized that it was really less about making something new and more about putting my own spin on them and having an excuse to draw some good old MLB fan art again, of course. Which was something I just wanted to disclose before getting too far into these. I am aware that my designs look closer to being light edits to looking more like I just drew them in my own style, but every time I attempted to stray from the original design, it felt wrong and subsequently just not that character anymore. I should really get my hands dirty with some characters / designs I could really rework, and one of these days I will. Danganronpa, Miraculous Ladybug, etc. But given this is my first speed paint and voiceover, I thought I'd give myself a little less work drawing something that I didn't feel like I needed to start from basically the ground up. All that aside, I can now finally explain the method behind my madness. While I was younger, I definitely liked Pinkie Pie the least. In my more recent rewatch, attempting to finally finish when my 10-ish-year-old self started, I definitely started to enjoy her a lot more, which I feel like was pretty mandatory in order to design her the best that I could. One thing I also really wanted to lean into was making her hair look more textured in a 3D space, since I feel like a lot of the times Pinkie's hair looks the most two-dimensional in comparison to other ponies. While I don't know how good of a job I did showing that in the angle I drew, I did explore the style a bit more in my preliminary sketches that I made in preparation. Another common headcanon I've seen across the redesigns is that Pinkie being into decor fashion, and while I definitely didn't go all out as I could have, I did my best to take inspiration where I could for all of her accessories. I feel like she would be way into candy culture as well, and know all the rituals and whatnot, and have an absolute stockpile where she would hold all the friendship bracelets she's traded and been gifted by all the ponies in Ponyville. Something else I find wild is the fact that Pinkie canonically makes jewelry, and that's never a hobby she personally shares with Rarity. Like, technically all of her friends do, and that's cool and all, but it could have been so cute for her and Rarity specifically, since I feel like a lot of their dynamic is based on how different their vibes are from each other. I wanted to make Pinkie very short and stout, a bit reminiscent of the build of even a Shetland pony with little short legs. Hence she's the smallest in the group, with already not having many inches on her in my lineup. I also wanted the roundness of her fur to also reoccur in her body, since it's just to look like really soft and fluffy, since that's just kind of her. Speaking of things that are totally Pinkie Pie, color. Why is there so little color on Pinkie's design? I find it so weird that a character like Pinkie would be so oddly monochrome. Hence I took a leaf out of Rainbow Rocks like pretty much everyone else and gave her some pink and yellow streaks for flavor. I thought it would be fun to redesign the cutie marks as I go. I do feel like the main 6 got the short end of the stick when it comes to the designs, since they were made so early on. Like, I don't think it doesn't represent them, but I just think it'd be fun since we're already here anyway. So, Fluttershy was the first pony I played around with being not an actual pony. One thing I love seeing in the MLP redesigns is ironically less ponies. While I understood why that choice was made by Lauren Faust initially, the world of the show was expanded so much by the last season that it almost feels like a crime what they did, that the main 6 is made up of ponies alone. And while I did still stick to hoofed quadrupeds, I redesigned Fluttershy as if she were some kind of winged white-tailed deer. Another thing I see quite often with these redesigns is a lot of people nerf Fluttershy's wings, which I feel like seems a little odd, and it probably just comes from the fact that she's very earth nature themed, and it makes sense for her to be an earth pony. But I feel like Fluttershy not having fully developed wings similar to Scootaloo is a better direction, or at least similar to the effect. In general, I also wanted to give a little more diversity. Fluttershy I kept long and lanky, which also just fit the silhouette of a deer that I was trying to follow. I tried to make the cloven hooves on her back legs work, but they just didn't look quite right. But I tried my best to blend the look of the ponies and photos of deers, more specifically in the ears and the shape of the muzzle, the tail, and the antlers. The tail and the antlers I was a bit more stylistic with. Technically, Fluttershy's original design makes more sense for a pony that is outside working. I couldn't shake the image of her little animal friends helping her put little flowers in her mane and tail, since I feel like a lot of people tend to focus on wanting her to look utilitarian, for a lack of a better word. But to me, that seems more in the sense for AJ, and while I didn't feel like it's completely wrong, Fluttershy would want to care for her animal friends well, but as long as it wouldn't get in the way, I don't think she'd mind a bit of accessorizing. Another important note was I wanted her antlers to have small flowers buds growing out. No real lore reason, I just think it was cute. I also wanted to give her a big bow at the base of her tail like they used to do with all the ponies in Generation 1, but since the deer tail was there, I skipped it for fear it would make the tail look overcrowded. I wanted her markings to be a bit reminiscent of the white spots baby deer have, even though she's a fully grown mare. I also made her eyes green instead of that odd minty blue, and stuck some leaves in her hair to tie it in more. I also tried to color her wings like a sparrow's, at least in my head. I don't know, I was too lazy to look up a reference at the time for some reason. In general, it was just very important to me that I made all of the girls and just give the vibe of a person you've met, if that makes sense. Like, they're all a certain type of friend you've had before, or if you haven't had them directly, you've seen them in like media, like Pinkie Pie's. Like, she's the element of laughter. Of course, she's gonna be like the one with the best jokes. Like, and Fluttershy's gonna be the one that's just unrelentingly sweet and kind towards you, and Applejack's the one who will tell you to knock off your bullshit if you're being stupid and that sort of thing. So I just kind of want to go in to how they would, like, what kind of friend they would essentially be toward you, since like the entire thing hinges on friendship and that sort of deal. So, but Fluttershy, I feel like, is pretty self-explanatory. Like, she would be the kind one, you know. In general, I feel like they did a pretty good job with the Equestria Girls movie in showing what kind of a friend I feel like she would realistically be, being the first person to like reach out to like Saitwai in like the third question mark movie and that sort of thing. Just one of those people whose heart's just a little too big for their head, or however that saying goes. I made her cutie mark a big blue butterfly with 2 paw prints hid behind to allure to the fact that she's not just like a butterfly carer. And that finishes Fluttershy. Let me know how you feel about her in the comments. On to the next and final redesign of the video. And last but not least, we have Rarity. My least favorite as a child, but my most favorite in my present viewing. For Rarity, I really wanted to lean into that old classical illustrative art of unicorns where they all have those curly wispy fur on their legs and those long rat-like tails that I know a lot of people hate, but I personally think they're very fun. That was something I wanted to keep exclusively for unicorns or alicorns, since it just made sense to me. They're ancient beings of magic, and that note just kind of gave a really regal vibe. While I feel like I could have done a better job making the tail look more flowing / lightweight, I think it gets the idea across well enough. I gave her a crown type of accessory that connected to her ears and horn, as well as 2 bracelets and a gold necklace that kind of actually reminds me of Celestia's necklace. Oops. Rarity Alicorn arc, when am I right? But anyway, I stuck her curly old Hollywood hair in a half-up bun since she is a business lady, and overall just trying to make her fur look extremely soft and sleek, like her hair is shiny as hell. In general, I seem to have really leaned into the image of old Hollywood because I gave her a Monroe beauty mark. Not that I'm all that mad about it. She's the one with the transatlantic accent, not me. I also tried to render her hooves all sparkly like they were painted. I also added a bit of gray to their palette because I kind of just like the way that a lot of people add gray or even black to her palette. It just looks so nice and classy in general. She also has a BoJack Horseman diamond on her head since it's a horse thing, and B, it's the same shape as her cutie mark, so in a stroke of genius, I added it. I made her cutie mark the same 3 gems since I do feel like it's pretty indicative of what her talent is, but also added a thread and needle to frame it to give it a little more something extra. And that is Rarity finished up. I also tried to give Rarity's mane a bit of a more bluish purple, a bit more of like a royal purple even, which is ironic considering she's not a princess, but apparently I really wanted to be based on the choices I've made thus far. I also in general I wanted to give Rarity a lot more like clothing type accessories, but that was also something that felt a bit out of my wheelhouse and something I just couldn't really make work. I've seen other people make work pretty well in their redesigns, but I wasn't entirely confident with my own ability to design horse clothing. In general, I just wanted her to look very like long and elegant, kind of like a similar stature to Fluttershy, which is why they're both actually similar heights in my lineup. I just wanted Rarity to have that kind of like older sibling vibe, that like reliable, that like friend you would have in high school that's like just very, like you're not blood related, but you like feel like you like could be. That and just like the older sister in like every like TV show from like the 2000s that was just so cool, but like kind of a bitch low key, but like she came in clutch, when you really needed her. I also somewhat kind of regret changing her hair silhouette to what I did, but drawing it the way I did was also the only possible way I could make her hair make sense in my own brain by like curling it over the front of her head like that. But what can I do when I'm not the greatest or most practiced in drawing dramatic curls like that? But it was also a bit of an attempt to, like Pinkie Pie, make her hair make sense in a 3D space. I just feel like I could have done a better job, I guess, in general with that. Wow, that was an awful lot of stuff to listen to. You're a real trooper if you're still here, honestly. If you enjoyed, you should like and subscribe because I will be redesigning Applejack, Rainbow Dash, and Twilight, and possibly even some Equestria Girl redesigning a bit later down the line, depending on how this video is received. I hope you have a grand rest of your day, no matter how many hours may be left in it. Stay safe and goodbye.